What was the black market at your school? I sold Otter Pops 2 for $1 in high school. I had to unload them all before first period or they'd melt. I was consistently making enough to pay for my lunch every day before the man shut me down. In high school there was this game fad where people would try to stealth zip tie other people's bags to their desks, shoes together, whatever, so they'd be stuck when the bell rang. One guy sold the heavy duty zip ties and another sold mini scissors for easy escape. Bags of Kool-Aid and sugar. In elementary school, it was flavored toothpicks. The most popular were soaked in cinnamon oil. First time I tasted Fireball whiskey took me right back to first grade. In elementary school my friend had a sticker maker, and we pumped out hundreds of stickers with Neopets on them. Everyone wanted them. We were making away like bandits before teachers started to get pissed. They were showing up all over the desks, walls, etc. Eventually we got called into the principal's office and had to stop. I went to like 9 different schools, but the one that stands out is marbles. Marbles were banned at the school because kids were getting into arguments over them, as well as digging up the gardens making marbles tracks. I was a substitute teacher at a charter school. The kids and the teachers liked me, so they kept bringing me back. I noticed there was a kid who brought a huge duffel bag every class, but he was also in sports, so I didn't really think of it. One day, he shows up with a can of the drink I had every day. When he noticed I hadn't brought one, the kid was running a snack business out of his locker and the duffel bag was packed with snacks and soda. Most teachers usually shut it down in their room, but he didn't disrupt the class while I was there, and he had the Monster flavor I liked. He was the current student selling and had inherited the business from a recently graduated senior. The school had tried to shut him down at least once. The kids noticed I didn't say anything, so they paid more attention in class, knowing I'd give them a minute or two at the end to get a snack. Beating kids up. In grade 8, so 13 years old, there were a few hitmen, huge bully type kids that would beat up anyone you wanted. Price started at 20. Within a few weeks it was up to 50. The hitmen were all independent, so you could pay one to beat up another. Lasted about 3 months when everyone came to school looking like heck. Fun fact, I missed getting beat up because the guy hired was too busy, so he kept the money and told me to tell everyone I was beat up. Win-win. All the teachers thought I sold drugs. When I was caught they found out I was actually selling gummy worms soaked in Kool-Aid and soda. The school loved them. Fossils. My friend was caught selling fossils to all the other kids. They were all over the playground, she just knew where to find them. Air potatoes. For those unaware, air potatoes are an invasive species of vines that grow to cover massive swaths of forest areas in Florida, and usually result in the death of everything they grow on as they suck the nutrients out of the surrounding flora. There was a gigantic infestation of these vines around my school, and they bore small, roughly golf ball sized potatoes which were very poisonous if eaten. Perfect size fruits for pelting your enemies on the playground. Obviously 5th graders being in possession of weaponized poisonous potatoes was frowned upon, so you had to be careful not to get caught picking them. Eventually the whole school was covered in bruises and welts from the Great War of 2003-2005. Finally they built a fence around the playground and a ceasefire had to be declared as all remaining ammunition began to rot. Me. In middle school I always had a JanSport book bag full of warheads, releases, now all laters, and Snickers. Also always kept 3-5 SNES games on me that I beat to trade or rent out. I made about $5-8 daily, mostly spent on upgrading my lawn mowing business in the trailer park, or for more SNES games. I'm 41. Paper hornets. You'd load one up with a rubber band on the inner edge and launch the little ducker at other people. Could often leave a little bruise wherever it hit. Thing was, some people were good at making them, and some people were shit at making them. So the people who were bad at it would buy them off people who were good at it. I was very good at it, creating ones that would hit hard as duck, but fly like a dream. I routinely would get dimes for the simpler ones, but the crazier ones I'd sell for a quarter. Soft drinks became black market in my final year, as the health department had passed guidelines about selling them in schools. One of the teachers initially was selling them from his office, but got shut down pretty quickly, so I decided to take it up. I'd get up early and drive past the supermarket on the way in, and grab a 30-pack of Coke, Fanta, Sprite, etc. Then I'd sell them from my car at lunch breaks. That got shut down too. So I shift my approach, ended up coming in early to school and dropping the cans off in various empty lockers around the school and padlocking them shut. Then at lunch I'd walk around with a bunch in my pockets and sell them, stocking up at the drop points as I continued my walk. Didn't really try to make money off it, was a bit more of a duck you to the man. Mid 2000s had a kid who kept finding ways around the web blockers, and he would pass the info around so we could surf the web unimpeded for a couple days. School would find out, update the web blocker, and the kid would find another way around. Lasted the whole year. I've posted this before, but it fits perfectly here. They got rid of the soda machines at my high school, which caused the students to get really pissed. A buddy of mine bought a bunch of 12 packs of store brand sodas for $3 each and a huge cooler. He showed up the very next day after they removed the machines and charged $1 per soda. The demand was insane, and he sold out each day right when lunch started. The staff got pissed and stopped allowing him to bring the cooler. So instead, he brought a huge gym bag that he claimed he needed for PE class and filled it with sodas. He couldn't keep up with the demand, so he cut another guy in and had him carry a gym bag too. Years after he graduated, his sister attended the same high school and someone asked her if her brother was the soda guy. He had become a legend just that fast, lol. This kid sold hot Cheetos and candy in the bathrooms before and after lunch. He brought a black duffel bag full of them every day. Smarties. After the administration banned them, one of my classmates found out that crushing up Smarties into powder, dumping it all into his mouth, and blowing it looked like smoke. Suddenly half of the student body is smoking Smarties. The administration freaked out, trying to control the situation. Attempted to prevent over 900 middle schoolers from possessing Smarties. Letters were sent to parents. Local news stations were interviewing people in the parking lot. It was asinine to say the least. One classic entrepreneurial type started buying bulk Smarties by the pound and selling them for $1 apiece during lunch. Did so for about a month. He made over $1,000 and was eventually suspended. And in bootlegs. Back in the early 2000s, one friend went to visit family in Hong Kong every summer and would always come back with only the freshest of badly sub-pirated DVDs. He made a killing burning those. I think I still have the Cowboy Bebop bootlegs around somewhere. I sold stink bombs out of my locker. Stupid kids kept setting them off in class. That's how I got shut down. As a senior I was 18 and old enough to be a stock boy at a liquor store. Even though you had to be 21 to buy. The owner was a rich old widow who definitely had a thing for me, and she wound up putting me in charge of the books and auditing the store. Needless to say, I started a side hustle supplying booze to my entire high school. I took orders during the week and had them ready for Friday nights, delivering everything out of the trunk of my car. I made roughly $3,000 a week for about 9 months. It ended with a woman selling the store and buying one closer to where she lived. She lived about 1 hour away, and the new owners were a couple who cleaned house of all current employees so they could run the store themselves to save money. The widow's new store mysteriously burned down 3 months later, but that's another story. When the new owners audited the store, they called me asking if I could come in and help them with the books because something wasn't adding up, and I told them to pound sand since they fired everyone without notice. Heard from another ex-employee who worked at a pizza shop next door. They chalked it up to the widow not knowing how to run her business and running herself into the ground. In hindsight, I was lucky it ended when and how it did, because I would definitely gotten caught at some point. Saved up enough money to buy a brand new truck in cash right before leaving for college, and having money in my account to get me through freshman year without working more than 20 hours a week. I've since rolled that truck into every new vehicle I've owned as an adult. pirated games that had the copy protection cracked. This was in the early 90s, when you had to have a documentation to solve the copy protection. With some clever programming, you could bypass that usually. I sold beer. Only person that knew it was me was the guy that took orders. He got the orders by WED, and I bought it after school in another town, and delivered it to him that night. I was using my brother's birth certificate. It worked for about 3 months, and then every place I went, turned me down one night. We both decided that was a good run, and time to quit. Warheads. Black Cherry brought the most money, and always sold out first. One staff caught on, and kept finding the individual wrappers all over. They forbid the sale, or trading of them in class. The next step was selling them at lockers, and soon the school shut that down. Finally the place was after lunch, when we could go outside, and talk, and on the bus, where we weren't so closely watched. In elementary, a buddy and I would save our Halloween and Christmas candy, wait a couple weeks until everyone ate all fizz up, then bring it to school, and sell it for $50 a pop. I bought Sega Genesis games with my money. We used to make Kool-Aid bags. Basically you would take a Ziploc sandwich bag, a packet of Kool-Aid, and about a half a cup of sugar, and mix the ingredients inside the bag. Snip a corner off the bag. Suck on that all day long. Could usually get .50 if memory serves. This was in the mid-80s LOL. Kid at my middle school took his mom's credit card and used it to buy teacher's edition books. I think normally you have to prove you're a teacher, but he got them on eBay. I could be wrong. His main problem was getting the packages before his parents noticed. Not sure how he got past them, but he did. I'm a teacher. We had 2 spawned by COVID. The first was toward the beginning of the outbreak. The school had a policy that, if you have 2 symptoms of COVID, you go home. So if a kid had a headache and wants Tylenol, that's 1. But we lice in an area with really bad allergies, and almost everyone has runny nose, sore throat in the fall. So that's 2. Teachers pretty quickly turned a blind eye to bottles of ibuprofen being passed around by students to avoid going home. When we had a mask mandate, the office got tired of giving out masks to kids who forgot them. So they started charging $5 to parents' accounts per mask. Fairly rich private school, so this wouldn't cause a hardship for anyone. A kid's parents got annoyed about spending $5 so they sent him to school with a box of masks to put in his backpack. One of his classmates forgot her mask, and I told her, well, you can go to the office and GT one for $5, or student might sell you one for $3. And so the black market for masks was born. I heard later that a different teacher sent him to the office for it. So I checked in with my boss to make sure he didn't get in trouble. My boss laughed and said it was brilliant. Then told me at his previous school there was a kid who rented out belts and ties to kids who forgot them to avoid dress code violations. Selling pirated copies of Windows Vista and Microsoft Office. My brother did a brisk business for a time in selling cold bottles of Coke from his locker in high school from a chilled cooler. The school had switched from Coke to Pepsi vending machines, and he serviced the die-hard Coke aficionados. Extra ties and sport coats. Went to a Catholic high school with a dress code, and you'd be surprised by how many kids forgot the basics of the uniform on a daily basis. You could charge outrageous prices for renting them out for the day, so they didn't get detention. Food and drinks in the locker room. People would sell sausage wraps, tacos and Gatorade. Fake IDs and cinnamon flavored cigs. Burn CDs. Man, I'm getting old. When I was in middle school, we used to have this thing called punish work. It was basically this sheet of paper that was probably like 8 paragraphs long. Basically saying in a fancy way that you broke the rules and are being punished for it. You even had to get your parents to sign it. And at the end it said, was it worth it? If you did something that wasn't like suspension worthy, you'd get issued punish work. You would basically have to write that entire sheet word for word, top to bottom. Depending on what you did, you'd get issues 1 sheet, sometimes 2. I've had 3 and 4 before. Doing the punish work really wasn't that horrible, but who wants to sit here and write that whole thing? Nobody. So some of us started offering to write people's punish work for them for money. Sometimes snacks at recess or a pack of cookies at lunch. I'd charge 2 a sheet. If you didn't have 2. I wanted a snack at recess. Or like I said, a pack of cookies at lunch. There was at one point when I had people specifically come to me to write their punish work for them because they knew I was good for it. So sometimes I'd just randomly write a sheet out in my spare time to get ready for the next deal. My stepbrother at the time too. He started forging people's parents' signatures for them because he was good at cursive writing. So that was another aspect of the black market punish work hustle. In 5th grade I smarted off to a cop at school. And my asshole teacher made me stay inside for recess every day for like 2 weeks and write punish work instead. At the end of those 2 weeks, I stole all my punish worksheets I'd written. And I started selling them to classmates. By the time I was in 8th grade, I had that sheet basically memorized. And at the end of the sheet, how it said, "Was it worth it?" One time I got it for something stupid as duck. So I wrote below it, "Yes, it was worth it, bruh," and I got issued more sheets laughing my butt off. Vending machine was always broken at my middle school, so people would pay you to bring chips and stuff. Not sure if this counts, but wanted to post anyway. There was a guy who sold vitamin water and protein bars from his locker at a much cheaper rate than the convenience store nearby. We assumed he was able to get some sort of bulk discount and was passing the savings on to us while still making a little bit. Nope. Turns out the dude just didn't do his math right. He was buying individual cases of the products, but divided incorrectly when trying to get the unit prices, and was just selling everything at a loss. I used to make and sell beaded lizards before I was found out and told stop. There was a wonderful short time around 1999 where CD burner affordability and high-speed internet rollouts aligned. If you were savvy enough to have both, made a decent amount of money burning CDs from Napster downloads. Fairly innocuous black market. Some seniors ran out for smoothies around lunch and brought them back for people who wanted them. Even some teachers wanted in. Eventually, it attracted too much attention. I was a nerd, so I don't know what mine was, but my kids were telling me in 2019 about the underground slime ring. A little sealed plastic Dixie cup with glittery, fluffy, or crunch slimes in rainbow colors. 50 cents a cup. They got shut down right before COVID lockdowns. We had to wear ID badges at my high school that had our school name, our full name, our picture on one side, and a colored bar indicating our seniority: purple freshman, green sophomore, yellow gold junior, red senior. So this one friend of mine got a machine that her dad used to use to make company IDs, scanned her own ID, made a blank template, and sold ID badges for $5 and could make it say whatever the customer wanted. Me being the edgy teenage freshman that I was, I wanted a picture of the Grim Reaper on mine with it saying death in a red band. I forget what name I chose. Probably something stupid. I got caught by the principal, and he threatened to expel me and have me investigated for identity fraud if I didn't tell him who it was. So I asked. As I was leaving, I texted my friend and told her something along the lines of, "Don't admit to shit. I only told him you made mine," or some shit. We both only got a stern talking to. Consider subscribing if you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more of Reddit Universe.